What's going on, guys? So a lot of what I do as a recovery coach is based off of helping these guys be better men, and this is probably taboo and I don't usually talk about it, but I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I need to now. But I see recovery as an extension of being a good man. And some people might have a hard time reconciling those two things. Well, how are you connecting those, and why is being a good man a prerequisite for getting sober? And those are fair questions, and I welcome questions like that because they're the right questions to be asking. But that's just the way I look at it. And you know, every coach, every person in recovery, the lessons they learned are from their own life experiences. And when I think back to the kind of guy I certainly wasn't a man, but the 20 years I spent in active addiction, excuse me, when I look back at the things I did, the people I harmed, and the kind of base human being that I had become, like, the process of transitioning from that guy to this guy that I am now, this grown man now, you know, was, it's like, what's the word I can't think of the word I wanted to use, but, you know, that's the part where I hold on to, and I think to myself, this is where the change happened. And it took a lot of work, a lot of recovery stuff, so don't get me wrong. I mean, they're certainly intertwined. Transcendence, that's what it is. There's a transcendence from being in serious trouble and in risk of losing my life or going to prison. There was a transcendence, and you know, to becoming a grown-up, a mature person, somebody that takes full responsibility for their life. So, with all that being said, there's actually, I've come up with 9 different points, 9 different standards that qualify somebody as being a good man. And then there's a few more that I've come up with that qualify somebody as being a great man. I'm not going to go over each point. I'm just going to cover a couple concepts. If there's any interest later on, I can go over and maybe I'll do it anyways, but for the sake of time, and right now I'm actually parked outside I'm actually parked in the VA hospital in Detroit, in their parking garage, waiting for an appointment here. So I'm going to keep this kind of short, but if there was ever one value or sentiment that would embody what it means to be a good man, that value is honor, for sure. This is my opinion, by the way. Obviously, I didn't read this anywhere. This is just stuff that I'm coming up with on my own. Take it or leave it. Because honor really encompasses everything. If you're an honorable man, then you're taking responsibility for your life. You're mature. You're selfless, caring, compassionate, empathetic. It really encompasses all other values, as far as I can tell. An argument could be made that there's, you know, virtue is another one. You know, maybe selflessness. So I mean, and I'm certainly open to other people's interpretations of what it means to be a good man. But that's the first point of 4 that I wanted to talk about today is be an honorable person. And if you don't know what that is, I suggest looking up the definition and then, you know, doing some Google searches, you know, listen to other guys who, you know, have transcended from being a man-child to a man. There's certainly guys out there like Jordan Peterson and Jocko Willinks and David Goggins, just to name a few that are going to be able to, you know, relay these sentiments better than I can. But just be a good guy. You know, if all you're thinking about during the day is yourself and what can I do and how can I get ahead, that's probably a mistake. Now you can be successful doing things, living your life that way, but if you're not doing anything for anybody else, in my mind, you can't call yourself a good man. I don't think you can. And that's not an attack on anybody. I'm just, because I wouldn't be able to call myself a good man, and so if I'm the guy giving the lesson here, that kind of makes sense. So the second thing I want to talk about is actions over words. Man, there's with social media and especially inherent to that, the lack of responsibility that people have to take for their words, because there's no consequences for saying basically anything you want on social media. But a lot of these guys, they sound really great, and maybe they even practice what they preach most of the time, and that's cool. But from a recovery coach perspective, from a therapist in the making perspective, from a guy that's who's a disabled veteran and been all over the place and done lots of different things, I have learned that your words are not meaningless, but they don't hold anywhere near the weight that your actions do. And so practice what you preach. And then also, you don't have to tell people how good you are. You don't have to tell people what kind of man you are. They're going to know by your actions. So remember that as you move through your day, whether you're going through recovery or you're trying to get sober, whether you're a coach, our actions matter, and that's what matters the most. People are, there's a lot of people out there that are really good with their words, some that aren't, but those people who are really good with their words, that gets put to the test, from time to time, and then you find out, if they are who they say they are, and sometimes they're not, and that's really disappointing. And that's when you have scenarios like where your heroes, let you down, that old adage where your heroes are always going to disappoint you. So let your actions show the world what kind of man you are. So my third point is taking full responsibility for your life. If you are, I'm going to throw out a number here. If you're 30 or older and you're still taking bailouts from your parents, you are still blaming other people for your problems, if you are a whiner, a complainer, if you don't accept full responsibility for your actions, your deeds, your words, look, I'm not going to judge you for that, because that's the kind of man I want to be, is somebody that doesn't judge other people, because everybody's got their own path and you don't know who's been through what. So as a general statement, generally speaking, if you're about 30 or older and you haven't got it together yet, you probably have some chronic behavioral issues. You might have trauma that's undealt with. You might have depression. You might have a lot of different things going on. But one of my greatest life lessons is that oftentimes when you're comparing two things, it's not one or the other that's true, it's both. So in the case of having trauma, that can be true, and you're not being the kind of man that you should be. So both things are true. So I realize that's probably touchy, and maybe that wasn't the best example, but what I'm trying to say really is, if you move through life with the idea that there's no excuses, not that bad things didn't happen or that your circumstances weren't complicated, but that there's no excuses for not handling those things so that you can live your life being the best man that you can be, that's really what we need to focus on. So if you have issues that are in the past that are barriers for you now, or you just have current barriers, and those things are preventing you from being the kind of man that you want to be, or a good man, well, let's look at that. What are you doing to remedy the situation? If you're not giving everything you have into getting better, then that's on you, and that's on me. And trust me, I've been there. I'm still doing it in some ways. Like I am not some guru. I'm not some, I'm not trying to act like I've got it all figured out. These are just life lessons that I've continued to learn. I'm still learning right now. Like I have some serious back and posture issues. It's been going on for almost 25 years. Injuries from the military. And I'm still slacking. I'm still slacking on doing my yoga, my stretches, my PT. And that's on me. So if I complain, that's worthless to me. It's useless and it's worthless because I have nobody to blame but myself for that. So anyways, I don't mean to sound like I'm lecturing, but we have to take 100% full responsibility for our lives. I often used to say, and I still say, that I don't have to take full responsibility for becoming an addicted person, but I do have to take full responsibility for my sobriety. So that means a lot of shit happened to me in the past that was very traumatic. Some before, lots after I became addicted. And those are real things. They happened, and they had and still have a real negative effect on my life. But what are my options? I can do something about those things to try and be a better person, a better human, a better man, or I can do nothing. Or I can do nothing and complain about not having the life that I want to have. So a lot of this is just about priorities and then taking action on those priorities. For example, when people say, oh, I'm sorry I didn't call you, or I haven't been calling you lately, I haven't had time, that's always a lie. Every single time somebody says that, it's not true. What they're really telling you is, I had priorities and you weren't one of them. And that's really painful when you're talking about loved ones and friends and family, because they tell us those same things as well, right? So, but that's normal. So we got to try not to judge people for that. But it's a hard pill to swallow knowing that you didn't make the cut, right? So anyways, I didn't mean to go off the rails there. The last thing, man, this is so important. Keep your word. If you make a commitment to somebody and you've given them your word and you don't keep it, the debt that you have to pay to yourself and the universe is, number one, inescapable. There's always a price to pay for that, whether it's internally or externally. And it's really indicative of somebody who's not a grown person. And that goes back to my first point, honor. Like, how can you say you're a man of honor if you give somebody your word and you don't keep it? Now, as somebody that very, very hard tries to keep my word all the time, when people tell me they're going to call me back, whether it's for business or whether it's for, coaching or friends or family, and they don't call me back, that it makes me really angry, because I spend a lot of effort and I expend a lot of psychic energy on trying to make sure that I hold myself to my own standards and that I don't get off track with what I'm trying to do in terms of making myself a better person. So, those are hard things to deal with, and I don't really have an answer, a cookie cutter answer for how to deal with people who don't keep their word to you. But you only have control over yourself, and if you give a commitment to somebody, you should damn well keep it, because that is the mark of a good man, at least one of them. So anyways, that was a longer video than I intended. So I have more stuff to say about that, lots more stuff, in fact. So if anybody's interested, I can certainly make another video on that, and I can go point by point through the 9 what I deem necessary 9 points of being a good man, and then we can also talk about what it means to be a great man and what are the differences. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I got to get in here and get this VA appointment underway. Talk to you guys later. Bye.